This is a bony anatomy review of the spine. The spine is made up of 5 primary segments: the cervical spine, the thoracic spine, the lumbar spine, the sacrum, and the coccyx. The cervical spine comprises 7 vertebrae. As outlined here in red. The thoracic spine comprises 12 vertebrae, as seen here in blue, and the lumbar spine comprises 5 vertebrae, as seen here in yellow. The sacrum is outlined here in white, typically is made up of 5 fused bones, and then the coccyx, which may be a little obscured for you under the toolbar here, is also made up of about 3 to 5 small bones. If we look at the spine as multiple functional segments, we can split the spine up into an upper cervical, lower cervical, thoracic, lumbar, and sacrum. The upper cervical spine is made up of the occiput of the skull, C1 and C2. This functional segment contains the occipito-atlanto and atlanto-axial joints. C1, or the atlas, is unique in that it contains no body and no spinous process. It has an anterior arch and a posterior arch, and facets for the occiput of the skull to sit on. Beneath the atlas sits the axis, or C2. The axis is unique because of its large dens, which is the projection sticking up within C1. The atlanto-axial articulation is extremely important for rotation of the head and neck. The second functional segment of the spine is the lower cervical spine, which includes C3 to T1, as seen here. Interestingly, for whatever reason, in this cadaver, C7 appears to be missing. The vertebrae of this functional segment all have what is known as a bifid spinous process. If we look at it from the caudal to cephalic view, you can see the bifid nature of these spinous processes. They all have a lamina, a transverse process, a pedicle, and a body. They also all have articular processes, both superiorly and inferiorly, for the vertebra sitting superiorly or inferiorly on them. The vertebra of this functional segment, at least C3 through C6, all have a transverse foramen, which is here and here. And like all of the vertebra, they have a large central vertebral foramen. The third functional segment of the spine is the thoracic spine. This functional segment includes the vertebra T2 to T12. Remember, T1 is considered part of the lower cervical functional segment. Unique characteristics of this functional segment include the long and inferiorly oriented spinous processes, the rather long transverse processes seen here. And if we view it from a lateral view, on the transverse processes, we have articular facets for the ribs. Similar to other vertebrae, you will find bony landmarks, including the body of the vertebra, the superior articular processes. Let's get a better view here for you. Sorry. There we go. The lamina. And connecting the rest of the vertebra with the body, here and here, the pedicle. For those of you with the creative mind, the vertebra within this segment take on the shape and orientation of the face of a giraffe. We pull out all the others here, and we just look at one in particular. You may be able to see that a little bit more easily. Looks like the face of a giraffe. The next functional segment of the spine is the lumbar spine. The lumbar spine includes L1 to S1, so it actually includes part of the sacrum. Here we see just L1 to L5. Note the much larger and thicker vertebral bodies. This is to allow for higher absorption of compression forces. And the difference in shape of the spinous process from that of the thoracic vertebra. Much broader and wider. Thicker musculature and ligamentous structures attached to the lumbar vertebra than the thoracic vertebra, which allows for the bony outgrowth and thickening of these vertebrae. Of interesting note are the facet or zygapophyseal joints. Sorry, it's tough for me to say that word. These are the articulations between the superior and inferior articular facets and processes of the vertebra. So here is one as an example. This articulation forms synovial joints that contain thin articular capsules. These joints are important because it allows for gliding between the vertebrae. If we add our sacrum and our coccyx in, this provides us with the remaining functional segments of the spine. The sacrum, again, is made up of 5 fused bones that play a key role in the motion of the lumbar spine, whether it's the articulation between L5 and S1, or the articulation between the sacrum and the innominates. If we look just at the sacrum, there we are. We see a couple of other specific bony landmarks to make note of. With the sacrum oriented anatomically, we can see on the inferior aspect of the sacrum what we call the apex of the sacrum. Superiorly and laterally, we have 2 large triangular shaped pieces of the sacrum, lateral to the first sacral vertebra. These are called the ala or ala. If we look at the superior aspect of the sacrum, We see a flat portion here, which is known as the superior articulating facet, which articulates with L5. There is a rather large sacral sulcus inferiorly here, where neural vessels exit the sacrum, which is on the inferior aspect of the median sacral ridge. Lateral to the median sacral ridge, we have lateral sacral crests with individual foramen. If we look laterally on the sacrum, we see another articulation here, which forms the sacral part of the sacroiliac joint.